instinct.
Welcome back to the Fragile Division. I just got back from seeing The Rise of Skywalker, and out of the 3 movies in the sequel trilogy, I think it's personally my favorite. The Force Awakens just played it a little too safe and was much too similar to A New Hope. And I actually liked The Last Jedi. I think it tried some different things, and maybe if all of them didn't work, I think you just have to give them credit for trying, namely Rian Johnson. But The Rise of Skywalker is J.J. Abrams at its best, I think. It definitely plays it safe, there's a lot of fan service, a lot of things you expect from a Star Wars movie, but I think that it worked in this movie, whereas in The Force Awakens it just didn't. Now, all Star Wars fans are familiar with the controversy surrounding The Last Jedi at this point, how it, ruined some people's childhoods, and people hate Rian Johnson for how he makes Luke seem as this old, tired man who doesn't want anything to do with the Force. And where The Last Jedi is a bit of a middle finger to fans, I think The Rise of Skywalker is J.J. Abrams coming up to fans, giving them this big hug and saying, come on back, we've got all the things you love. We've got the Falcon, we've got Han and Chewie, you love Han, you got a lightsaber, you got your Luke, you got your Leia, you got your Palpatine's back, he's cool. You got Han Solo, did I say Han Solo? You got lightsabers and blasters and all that stuff. We've got the Emperor, he's back, we know you love the Emperor. We've got, Force, no more Rose. Rose is out of it, so you don't have to worry, she's gone, the internet doesn't like her, so she's not allowed to be in this movie. My love of Star Wars is unique from any other fiction that I've loved over the course of my life, is that it's always just been a fact of life that I love Star Wars. I didn't have to tell people I love Star Wars. It was just a given. It was a fact of life. But of course, in today's climate, it's become rather polarizing. And by that I mean, you've got people who will swear that the prequels are much better than the sequel trilogy, and that the sequels are just like Disney SJW trash. And when something I love begins to tear people apart, that's when I begin to really question if this thing is worth loving. But Star Wars isn't what's making people not love things. It's Star Wars fans. There's a big group of Star Wars fans that just are not fun people. They just don't let you like something. Star Wars ultimately should just be something that brings people together. And when you've got these sectional divides within the Star Wars fan base, where people are telling each other they're not real Star Wars fans because they like or dislike a Star Wars movie, that's where I draw the line. That's not what Star Wars is about. Star Wars is about family and connections and loving each other. I can't quite put into words what I mean, but I know someone who can.
If a lot of people love each other, the world would be a better place to live.
So true, Tommy. So true. Now, with that little mini rant out of the way, let's get to the actual movie. J.J. Abrams returns to direct another Star Wars movie, so right off the bat I expected this movie to be more of a Force Awakens than a Last Jedi, which is definitely accurate after actually watching the movie. Rian Johnson directed the infamous second installment in the sequel trilogy, The Last Jedi, which created a lot of problems for this movie. J.J. Abrams had to pick up Force Awakens plot points The Last Jedi dropped, restart the story after the end of The Last Jedi left the franchise with no traction, and conclude the sequel trilogy as well as the Skywalker saga as a whole. This is no easy task, and when you've got this much going on, things are going to get messy. And if anything, this movie is messy. When watching this movie, one gets the feeling that it's trying very noticeably to make up for the lack of cohesion between the first 2 movies, as well as The Last Jedi's complete disregard for the events of the first movie. Because of this, Rise of Skywalker doesn't have much it can use from the first 2 movies, so it has to make up new plot points to be paid off later in the same movie. Despite the breakneck pace, The Rise of Skywalker does manage to deliver some emotional moments, intense action sequences, and scenes that reward longtime Star Wars fans. One of these moments is my favorite scene in the movie and takes place right after Rey beats Kylo. He's sitting there defeated when his father appears to him. They have a moment that mirrors their scene together in The Force Awakens, only instead of killing his father and turning further to the dark side, he embraces him and turns back to the light and tosses his saber over his shoulder. I almost forgot that Palpatine was the bad guy in this one. Say, what happened to the bad guy from The Force Awakens?
child. He ignites it and kills his true enemy.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got myself into this situation. Well, it all started 2 days ago when my mom woke me up for school.
Oh, that's right, now I remember. Anyway, back to the movie. So yeah, Palpatine is alive, and he's all powerful and really evil and stuff as usual. However, Ben and Rey team up and, kill him. Ben does die afterwards, which is kind of sad, I guess, but I don't know. Star Wars is over now. Star Wars is just creatively bankrupt at this point. There's nothing left you can do with, like, Skywalkers and Jedis. It's a shame, too, because I like all the actors in the new trilogy, and you can't really call these movies bad. They're just kind of painfully mediocre. This trilogy is just a waste of potential.
Even at its most divisive and imperfect, the Star Wars franchise offered much to embrace and celebrate. This finale to the Skywalker saga is, if nothing else, a tribute to that. For more on Star Wars, check out the cast breaking down the rise of Skywalker's big chase scene and catch up on the Skywalker saga by watching our timeline recap. As always, be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you like to watch IGN.
Don't forget to follow, hit subscribe, at that little bell notification icon. Follow us on Twitter, on Pinterest, on Facebook, on Instagram, on the YouTube, on the